In parenting today, can learning to swim at a young age make your child smarter? Some studies have shown that not only is swimming great exercise and an essential safety and life-saving skill, but it can also positively impact a child cognitively, emotionally and socially. But despite the positives, Water Safety New Zealand says 130,000 Kiwi kids have never had a swimming lesson. Our guest is Dr. Robyn Jorgensen, Emeritus Professor in Education at the University of Canberra. She's led a large international study on the benefits of structured swimming lessons for under fives, and she says it's clearly showed that children who have regular structured swimming lessons meet developmental milestones early, no matter what their socioeconomic background. Robyn is with us from Australia. I think you're Canberra-based, are you, Robyn? Morning.
Good morning, Catherine. Actually, I'm a bit luckier than being in Canberra. I live actually in Queensland, so it's much warmer up here.
Yes, warmer and a few other things as well.
Yes, exactly.
No offence to beloved Canberra. Okay, look, the last line there was one of the first things I thought when I read this. Have you, in your research, been able to measure for, I guess, other factors that may provide advantage? Because I know a big issue in this country is just how difficult it is and how expensive it is to get swimming lessons for kids now. So when you look at all the factors that could account for the differences in the results, have you been able to test for that?
We have certainly been able to. One of the things with swimming is exactly as you said, Catherine, it is very expensive. And that eliminates people in the low socioeconomic groups because finances mean that they can't go to swimming lessons. So we were very mindful when we did the study that we accounted for socioeconomic difference because it could have been a study that just reflected wealthy middle-class families. And we were fortunate enough to be able to include a number of cohorts of low SES families, regions as well. And we found that even with children from low SES backgrounds, they achieved their milestones much earlier as well. So the study was very comprehensive in its design, that it included all of those variables. We also included, regional and remote. As you know, Australia's quite a large country, so families coming into swimming lessons from farms and things, they may have to drive 2 hours. So do they still get exposed to the same benefits? And the answer is yes. So I think we have covered very comprehensively the different socioeconomic groups and regional groups.
And so you've been able to account, as always, for in research, for other factors that may be at play here. You've been able to correct for that. Tell me how you came at this. You're a mathematics educator.
Yes.
And what started you? Was there some sort of accidental start to this, or what even started you pursuing it as an hypothesis?
Well, it's an interesting story, Catherine. I'm not sure if you're aware of Laurie Lawrence. He's a very big figurehead in Australia in the swim industry, and he actually approached me and he said there was a hunch amongst the swim industry that they felt that their kids who were doing swimming, they just seemed to be smarter, they seemed to be more social, they seemed to be more in control of their language and so on. And there was this hunch, and that's all it was a hunch. So he approached me as a research professor, and I think it was a benefit that I was outside of the swim industry, so I didn't have a vested interest in the swim industry, to test if that hypothesis was correct. And then the study actually took 5 years, so it was a very large study to make sure that that hypothesis was correct or not correct. And as it turned out, it surprised me, to be honest, how much ahead of developmental milestones the swimming kids were.
So let's work through first. I think there's something like 7,000 responses. Like, how did you actually do the study? And then we'll talk about some of the standouts.
Okay. So we started off doing a large survey and we implemented that digitally. So basically what we had all the developmental milestones, and we just asked parents in swim classes if they could tick which ones their children were achieving. So over 3 years, so it was over a period of time as well, the 7,000 responses overwhelmingly, and I have to use that word, showed that parents were reporting that their children were achieving so many milestones much earlier than that, what you would anticipate. So we had external statisticians examining the results. But as we know, parents often think that their child's much smarter and can tie their shoelaces at 6 months and things like that. So there's always the risk of parental bias. But the results were such that you couldn't really ignore them because they were so significant and so amazing. So what we then did, we picked internationally recognised tests that were benchmarked against the milestones. So we had markers that we could compare our children with. And then we tested 300 children at different age groups on these recognised tests. So one's for physical development, one's for cognitive development and social development and so on. And then we compared them. So now we had kind of objective data, and it did confirm the survey results, but probably not as inflated as the survey results. But we expect to see survey results inflated when there's self-reporting. So the two approaches actually triangulated very strongly. So we're very confident to say that swimming kids were meeting their many developmental milestones much earlier than their same-aged peers.
Give us an example. What kind of milestones are we talking about? Reading ages? What?
Sorry?
Reading ages or what? What were some of the milestones?
So they were all different tests. So there were tests around literacy, there were tests around numeracy, there were tests around physical development like kicking a ball, handling a ball, hopping, jumping. So those now. If being a physical sport, you would expect them to be achieved earlier. So that's kind of no surprise. But the surprise was around the cognitive language numeracy milestones. So how early do they count? When do they recognise different colours, shapes? All of those kind of concepts that we want kids to have prior to coming to school. So the preschool concepts that you hope that children would have. And for example, in numeracy, which is my background, I was absolutely blown away that they were achieving some of those milestones 18 months ahead of their same-age peers. So that's a significant one. So one of them is in the area of counting and one-to-one correspondence. So many children struggle with that prior to coming to school. They might know how to count, but they don't have the one-to-one correspondence. So they really don't. They've got the counting word pattern, but not the actual counting skills.
So the under fives are what's in play here. The other, I guess, element of this is what are we talking about when it comes to swimming lessons? Was this quite structured, quite regular? Was there a consistency? What?
Well, we work very closely with a number of the swim organisations in Australia to get access to swim schools, and they would recommend us to different swim schools. We did swim schools right across all the states in Australia, and I would say we went to quality swim schools, and that's a big caveat for this study, is that the swim schools that we went to were high quality swim schools, and I think that's where we see the results that we've achieved, is that these are kids that are going to good swimming lessons. So it's a bit like if you go to a good school or you get a good teacher, you would expect better results. So the lessons were very structured. The teachers spoke in particular ways, because one of the other parts of the study, we observed a lot of lessons. We profiled the lessons to see what teachers were actually doing in those lessons. So a lot of the time the teachers would say, stop, look at me, watch me, and wait for the children to do it. I think the other part of that is that it's very important in the swim environment. It can be life and death if children aren't listening to their teacher. But that was the other part of the study I forgot to mention about school readiness. So there's a lot of school readiness that the children are achieving by going to the swim lessons, because they have to listen to their teacher. They have to walk safely to the side of the pool, because we don't want kids falling in, and all of those sorts of things. So quality swim lessons is an important part of this study.
What about memory is the other issue to raise there as well, and particularly working memory, the ability to hold something in your mind for a while. Was that part of what you tested for?
No, that wasn't something we actually tested for.
Okay. So what's your conclusion? How significant the results here for you as an educator and an educational researcher?
I think the results are highly significant to the point where I think it would be wise for governments to think about subsidising lessons, particularly for our low SES groups. And I would say in the New Zealand context, for Māori kids and Pacifica kids who are already well behind benchmarks before they come to school. This would be a fun environment where the kids are physically active, so that's a bonus. But the cognitive aspects of the swimming lessons could help. We've got a policy here in Australia called Closing the Gap with our Indigenous Aboriginal students. And to me, the swimming lessons provide a structured, fun environment where we could actually close that educational gap. Because the results were so significant in areas that we didn't anticipate, like literacy, numeracy, and school readiness.
Oral expression was another one, right?
Yes, yeah. Yes. Yeah.
There have been, actually someone makes the point here in the notes, I'm not sure whether it's you or someone else, that being in the water also provides tactile stimulation, that skin-to-skin contact and that experience of a tactile sensation can be stimulating for the brain as well. Of course, a lot of kids are scared of the water or don't like the water, and this becomes part of the discussion about how and when they become familiar with the water. I mean, a big issue I'm going to get to, the big elephant in the room at the moment, is the availability of all this. But just finally, yes. I think is there some international research that actually kind of backs up your results? Not exactly the same, but has had similar conclusions.
At this stage, no. There's been a lot of anecdotal professional work that swim teachers themselves have done, but not in a rigorous way. However, what I find quite exciting at the moment, a lot of the Spanish-speaking countries, so Brazil, Portugal, Spain, and some of the South American countries are starting to take up the benefits of early years swimming. So I'm hoping that we are going to get a proliferation of research in this area that will back up this research. But to date, this is the only study of its kind that's been done internationally. So I'm looking forward to other people being able to replicate and reproduce the same results, because that would reinforce this study.
What is the available of Learn to Swim like in Australia? I mean, you've got pools everywhere. A lot of them are private pools. One of the things that's happening here is we're losing all our school pools. They're too expensive to maintain. That was a key way that children, in an equitable way, could get to learn to swim. Our open and ocean environments, of course, are wonderful to be in, but it's not typically where you teach someone to swim. What's the availability like for children in Australia?
Australia is a water crazy country. I mean, we excel in all of the water sports around the Olympics. I mean, that's a sort of a testimony to our obsession with water. Most of the country lives within an hour of a water body, whether that's a river, a dam, the ocean, whatever. We have extensive pools in our communities. Our schools have pools. So there is a lot of accessibility to swimming pools and structured swimming, particularly in the in the urban and coastal areas. Probably not so much once we get out on the other side of the Great Divide and we're going into country areas. But in the main areas, I think we are also the leading country in the world for backyard pools, which is another reason it's important for kids to go to swimming, because death by accidental drowning in the under fives is the biggest cause of death in that age group. So we do have possibly a lot more access. When you've said school pools are closing in New Zealand, I mean, that's alarming, because not only do kids need to learn to swim, we now know there's a lot more benefits to swimming, and the social aspect of it, and, parents linking in together. We've got data on how mothers connect when their kids are swimming, and that reduces a lot of the isolation around mothers as well. So there's a lot of benefits of having
you don't have to
pools.
Convince me. I had the benefit of a neighbouring school getting basic learn to swim lessons there, and that is just disappearing. The kids who are lucky enough to get them, they cost. If they're going to a public or a community school, they cost.
Yes.
So can we just recap, because I've just seen the numbers here. The 11 please excuse me, 11 months ahead in oral expression, 6 months ahead in mathematical reasoning, 17 months
Yes.
ahead in story recall, which is memory and comprehension,
Yes.
30 months ahead in understanding directions. But we're talking about these are 5-year-olds. I mean,
Yes.
30 months is a long time when you're 5.
Exactly. That's why this study was so it's so significant in particularly the early education area, because it just shows that swimming offers so much more than just water safety and learn to swim.
Look,
They're phenomenal results, Catherine. They are really phenomenal.
and you were saying that, as we said, as an educator and a mathematics educator, not a swimming coach, but it blew you away that much. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Can you send them? Can you send them our way? Send them to our education minister.
More than happy to.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So, and I think the other thing, Catherine, when you said about the swimming pools, all of our states have structured swimming programs in the school. So all kids are exposed to swimming lessons as part of their physical education programs.
Every single child?
Yes.
Thank you, Robin Jorgensen, who is based at the University of Canberra. She's an emeritus professor, actually, in education at the University of Canberra. She's now based in Queensland, and she is shocked by the results of the research that she's carried out into the benefits of swimming for young children, those under 5, structured swim lessons. Not the physical stuff, but the cognitive